Today we're going to be looking at estimating with percents. This particular section is going to be a little different than, say, what your parents are going to offer you for advice. So at the end of this section, I will give you a little bit of information about common ways to estimate with percents that don't show up in our textbook. But for now, you want to make sure that you're learning the different strategies that are presented in the textbook. So you're going to want to go ahead and open to textbook page 138, and that's where we're going to begin. So you're going to be writing notes in your textbook right alongside me. So as I'm writing, even if you don't see a textbook page, you need to be writing in that general vicinity next to that example. All right, here we are on textbook page 138 at the top, and it says estimate the percent of a number. So on a test, it's actually going to say find the percent of a number. So those are the directions you're going to want to look for. And also when you're doing your classwork, you're going to want to look back at these examples when it says find the percent of a number. So it says estimating with percents will provide a reasonable solution to many real-world problems. Choose compatible numbers when estimating the percent of a number. That's very important because we've learned about compatible numbers already, so we should know what to look for and what to do. So when it says to estimate 47% of 692, let's go ahead and rewrite that out to the side. So we have 47% of 692. Okay? Then it says 47% is closest to 50%. Okay, so they're going to take that 47% and they're going to make it into a 50%. And 50% is actually 1/2. Then they want you to round the 692 up to a nice even number, and in this case it's a whole number, and that is 700. So let me switch colors here. So this becomes 700. So then it's going to be 1/2 of 700 is, and now the last piece is actually figuring out what 1/2 of 700 is. So what you would want to do is you can cross simplify. This was the whole point of choosing a compatible number, like a fraction. Half of 700 is 350. And then we're going to divide that out by 2, so we get 1 there. So then our final answer is going to be 350. And it's actually about 350 to be completely correct. So again, just to refresh, you're going to want to round the percentage, so the 47 rounded to 50% because that gave us a half for our fraction. All right, so now we're looking at example 2. This is still on textbook page 138. This example is going to get a little bit more tricky because everybody knows that 50% is 1/2, but many people are not going to be readily set up for 60%. So let's go ahead and take a look at 60%. So if we have 60%, remember from our conversion in the last chapter that literally means 60 per 100, right? So now we're going to be looking for 60 over 100 to be simplified. So I can divide out, and I am going to divide out 20 and 20. So we're going to end up with the fraction 3/5. Okay, this is important because 60% is already rounded to a whole number. So when you're talking about the percentages that you're able to round to, you're going to be looking at all of the percentages that end in a 0. So 10%, 20%, 30%, and so on. Okay, those are all possible estimating rounding percentages. And then also you can't forget 25% because it's very important. 75%. So these two are ones that you might forget and you might miss problems because of them. So if you have a percent that's like 73, you don't want to round that to 70%. You want to round it to 75% because that's 3/4. So there are just some percentages that you're going to need to learn the conversion from percent to fraction. So now that we have our 3/5, we're going to go ahead and do our problem again, which is, let me change colors here. So we're going to go ahead and do our problem here, which was 60% of, and it was 60% of 27. All right, so now we're looking at 60%, and we know that 60% is 3/5. Now, what we need to do is make this number right here, we need to make this 27 compatible with the denominator here. So what you want to ask yourself is, what's a number that is, I'm going to erase this over here so that I can have the space, but you want to keep it written on your paper somewhere. Okay, so here's what we're going to ask ourselves. What number is a multiple of 5 and close to 27? So that's what we're looking for. We're now not going to be changing the fraction, we're going to change the number. So the number that's a multiple of 5 and closest to 7 is going to be the number 25. So that'll be 25. So then what we're going to do now is we're going to take 3/5 of, which means to multiply, and we're going to round that 27 to 25. And the reason we're doing that is because of this next step here. Now we're going to cross simplify the 5 and the 25, which, by the way, if you don't actually do this, that's the entire purpose of getting the fraction, is so that you can, in changing this 27, is so that you can get a compatible number. So now those cross simplify and you're left with 5 times 3, which gives you 15. So 60% of 27 is about 15. And again, that word about should be in there too. So really quickly, before I have you pause this and go ahead and get started on page 138, A through C, I just wanted to run over it again, what the acceptable percent estimation should be. So when you're looking at, acceptable, let me not say acceptable, let me say common. So what you're looking for is the common percents to estimate. Meaning when you're trying to round the actual percentage. So the common ones are going to be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, whoops. My brain was already thinking about 80, 70, 80, 90, 100. But then there are 2 more, and these are very, very, very important. And that's actually 100, and it looks all weird, so let me fix that. All right, so there are 2 more, and these are very, very, very important. That's why I'm going to put them in a separate color. And you need to add these into your notes under the work zone. So the other 2 are going to be 25% and 75%. So all of these are percentages. And what we're saying is these are common percentages that you're going to use to round or estimate your percentage itself, not the number, the percentage. So again, you're going to want to round it to 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, or 25% and 75%. Because 25% is actually going to simplify to 1/4, and 75% will simplify to 3/4. So you just want to keep that in mind. All of the others should be pretty simple. You know, you would have 70%, which is 70 per 100. So if you looked at this one, it would be 70 per 100. And then you would take off the zeros to simplify, and you would get 7/10. So all of the other percentages are pretty easy to work with. The common percent estimates are going to be all of the 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, as well as 25% and 75%. So now what I'd like you to do is go ahead and push pause on the video, and I would like you to work on A, B, and C, please. All right, I wanted to go back 2 pages because I wanted to just address the bar graph that we looked at here, because I didn't address this in the discussion. So if you look here at the bar graph, so we did the 1/5 of 25 is 5. So then we actually did the 3/5, of 25 is 3 times 5, which is 15. So remember when we were doing those bar models, if you're looking at 0 to 100%, which is written right there, and then the whole, so this 25 is the number that goes on the bottom, 0 to 25. So then you can break it down into increments. So the number of increments would depend on that 5 right there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just like we did with the flower examples a couple chapters ago. So if you have 25 and you break these down, into 5 chunks, then you get 5 for each chunk. So a 5, a 5, a 5, and a 5. And then that last step, again, was just they wanted to know what 3 of those 5s would be, because 3/5, so this is 3/5, 3 out of total 5, 5, 10, and 15. All right, let's go ahead and look at A. So for A, you have 48% of 76. So 48% of 76. So the first thing we're going to do is round that 48%. And remember the common, estimates that I just showed you. 48% would, of course, round to 50%, which put in a fraction would be 1/2. And now 76 is going to round to 80. So it's going to be 50% of 80. And then the times 80 would go like this. And remember, you would cross simplify here. And you would get the 1 here, and you would get the 40 here, because you're dividing out the 2, remember. So you would get 40. So the answer to A is going to be about 40. Now, I'm going to erase it so I have room for B, but again, you should not erase it on your paper. This should be on your paper. All right, so now let's go on and let's look at 18% of 42. So remember, 18% is going to be closest to 20%. So we have 20% here. And 20% is going to simplify to 20 per 100, right? And then you're going to divide out 20. So divide out 20, and you get 1/5. So now the fraction you're working with is 1/5, okay? So now that you've gotten 1/5, you are going to, hang on one second, Rocky. Now that you have your 1/5, you're going to estimate this 42. So 18% of 42 is like 20% of, and then the 42 we would just round down to 40. I apologize, that's my dog. He's decided he wants something up there. So now we've got 1/5 times 40. And again, our last step is going to be just to cross simplify. So we're going to cross simplify that 5 and the 40, and we get 1 here and 8 here. And then we multiply straight across. 1 times 8 is 8, and then there's nothing on the bottom except the 1. So the answer here is going to be about 8. All right, and again, I'm going to go ahead and erase this now, but I want you to make sure that you're keeping it on your paper. I'm erasing it so that we can still see all 3 problems here. So now we're looking at the last problem, C, and the last problem, C, says 73% of 41. Now this one was a little trickier. Remember, I talked to you about all the normal ones, 10, 20, 30, 40, so all the ones that end in 0, and then I explained that there were 2 special ones, 25% and 75%. So this particular problem is one of those special ones. So 73%, we're going to round that to 75%. Of means to multiply, and then the 41 is going to become 40. Now we're looking at that 75%, and we now need to convert that into a fraction. So we have 3/4, because 75% is 3/4, times 40. So now what we're going to do, our very last piece, is just to go ahead and finish working through the problem. So we are going to, we're going to cross simplify the 4 and the 40. We're dividing out the 4s. That's what's happening. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. 40 divided by 4 leaves you with 10. And now the very last piece, we're just going to take this 3 here and multiply it by the 10 here, and we get 30. So our final answer is going to be about 30. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the first half of the lesson because I don't want the video clips to be so long. So this is just part 1 of Chapter 2, Section 6, Estimating with Percents.